give you the information that you would need in order to make an educated vote on this. I know when I heard that we were going to be paying $60 more, $20 each year in the next 3 years, and we're on a fixed income, and I thought, oh, darn it. But at the same time, everything goes up. And my thought and my husband's is that when we can't afford Hideaway Hill, then it's time to move away. We're just going to have to leave this place no matter how much we love it. This year, we had put in a new well just last month, so that was a $9,000 expense that we didn't expect. And as I was putting together the echo this weekend, why the board minutes, the board minutes reported that recycling in September is going to go from $250 a month up to $620 a month. Because our recyclers are having trouble, they have to sell it, and they're actually paying to get glass recycled. And cardboard has gone down from $125 down to $25 a ton. So there's just those things that Hideaway Hills can only make their budget stretch so far. So I thank you all for coming today to be educated, and I'll turn the meeting over to Jim. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I've met a few of you. My name's Jim Kirk. My wife and I moved here about 6 years ago. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, actually back when Mr. Krieger broke the dam and had to go through repairing the dam, I started coming to some of the management committee meetings to find out what all was going on. And I guess if you show up to enough meetings, sooner or later they might ask you to be on the management committee. So now I am. And last fall, the management committee is charged with the responsibility to come up with the budget for Hideaway Hills and then live within the budget, and it has to be a balanced budget. There's only so many members paying fees, and you got a number at the beginning of the year to work with. Last year when we sat down to do the budget, we dove very deep, and we went out more than 1 year. I know we all wish our U.S. Senate and Congress would do that, but they don't. So we did. We went 3 to 5 years in all kinds of different projects and stuff that we're going to need addressed to keep our amenities and our roads and all those things that we enjoy every day fixed up. Our security, our people. We need to do something. We put it in the budget, or attempting to put it in the budget, to take care of them. And let me get to, I've got a lot of the budget items on here that are part of this increase. I broke them down by year, and also one-time projects, and then budget items which will be in there for multiple years, if not for pretty much good. One-time projects in the first year, Lake Arrowhead and Lake Tomahawk principal spillways need repaired. The actual total is $75,000. Lakes Committee has volunteered $20,000 to offset some of the cost of fixing it. And through all of their money raising, when they put the boats in, take the boats out, and all the stuff that they do, they're sharing their money. What that is on both of those lakes, actually, you can see the one very easily when you drive across the road, across the dam on Lake Tomahawk. That piece of pipe with a flap that sticks up in the water there, that's kind of the overflow when the water gets high. The water goes down through there, that pipe goes down, and then under the road, into the next lake. Right now, the bottom of it, almost the whole length under the road, is rotting away. But I don't know if we know how long it's been in there. It could have been in there since the lake was put in. At this moment, the integrity of the pipe is still good enough that we can have a liner put in it, and we don't have to dig up or horizontally bore or any of that sort of thing. That's a lot more expensive. So that's what that one is about. Maintenance facility upgrade. We need to take care of our people. There'll be a couple other things in here trying to take care of our people. That maintenance facility down there, that all those guys are the guys that plow your roads in the wintertime. Let me see, they cut all the grass, they fix everything they can fix, they replace a bunch of culverts. I mean, they are jack of all trades. They take care of the golf course. A few years ago, we built a little bunkhouse in there for them so that in January, February, March, when the weatherman in Columbus is saying we got, you know, Armageddon coming at 2 o'clock in the morning, those guys don't go home. They stay in that bunkhouse. Well, here's the downside to that. There's no running water at all in that building. They don't have bathroom facilities or anything. So what we want to do is go in and put a well and a septic system in so that when they're there working, let alone when they're spending the night, they actually have somewhere right there where they can wash their hands, go to the bathroom, that sort of thing. Right now, if they want to go to the bathroom, they go over to the mail house. RFID gate system, that's radio frequency identification for the 3 back gates and also the front gate. We need to, there's been a lot of talk on Facebook. There's been a lot of break-ins. There seems to be a lot more. I don't know if they just all came at one time or if there's really a lot more or not. But one of them, which they caught the guy, admitted that he came in a back gate. We've had other instances, quite a few instances, where people have come in the back gate illegally. They tailgate. They have garage door openers from 5, 6, 7 years ago. We need to upgrade our systems to be a safer system for all of our security. I don't like to, I mean, when I first moved here, I didn't even worry about making sure my cars were locked. Now I'm a little concerned. I'm actually going to look at putting up a camera system around the house. Not that I think somebody's going to get in my house, but if they come close to it, I want to be able to, you know, go to the sheriff and say, this is who did it. So we need to upgrade our back gates plus the front gate, which is going to cost us $65,000, $34,650 of which we'll take out of CapEx fund. Budget items in the first year are the ditches and culverts. The roads are taken care of with your road assessment. We feel that going forward, that road assessment will take care of the roads. The issue is step off the road on either side, and there's a considerable expense on over 10% of our roads. The ditches are, with the monsoon rains that we've had the last couple of years, are just washing out. I mean, and putting gravel in isn't solving the problem. We've tested a process over on the hill coming down to Eagle Claw from the clubhouse, and it's working, but it's going to be expensive to fix all the ditches that need fixed. We have somewhere between 31 and 37 miles of road, depending on where you look. I think the website says 37, somebody else says 31. Over 10% of those, probably closer to 20%, have ditches that need fixed. Some of them on both sides. Hopefully most of them are just on the hillside. We also have quite a few culverts. For any of you that live on the other side of the lake, one of the culverts just got replaced, a big 48-inch one there at the beach. There's numerous big culverts around here that have been in since Pluto was a pup. They need replaced. They're going to be expensive. Okay. Second year, one-time projects. How many of you order stuff online? Well, there's a couple hands going up. There we go. There we go. I wanted to see who was going to admit to it. We leased and then bought that pimple on the back of the security building down there, which is going to get painted to match the security building. We leased it 2 years ago, bought it a year ago. That was because 2 years ago, especially at Christmas time, the influx of packages from UPS, FedEx, and the United States Postal Service was in the neighborhood, especially around Christmas time, in the neighborhood of 80 to 100 packages a day. Now, I stopped down there the other day, and this was caused by Amazon had a 2-day Prime deal. They got in 80 packages on a Wednesday in the middle of July. So it's just doing this. I mean, all of us are ordering more stuff online. It's easier than driving into Columbus or wherever. We need to expand that building so that there's somewhere for your packages to be stored. We need to expand that building and add some equipment because we have people who have their medications shipped. And medication, a lot of it needs refrigerated. Right now they got a little refrigerator that is for your medications and their lunches. It's not big enough. We need to spend some money to expand that building so that they can continue to accept all the packages as part of the process. Also, it wouldn't hurt a bit if we kind of put a little bathroom in there so that they don't have to run across the parking lot if they have to go to the bathroom. But we'll see how that works out. Okay, the annual wage increase. 2 years ago, we were trying to hire security guards at approximately $9.50 an hour. Now, I don't know about any of you, but even here in Hocking/Fairfield County, $9.50 an hour doesn't get you much. You can start at McDonald's, I think, at $10.50, and I was somewhere just the other day, they were starting people at $13 an hour. We've raised that some, but it's not in our budget to raise it enough. You get what you pay for. We've been very fortunate. We've got some great security guards. We got some guys that they just do an awesome job. We need to be able to put it in the budget to basically go out and do a wage survey. And what are security guards getting paid in market around here? I'm not talking about going up to Franklin County into Columbus. That's not the market we're worried about. But Lancaster, Logan, New Lex, this area, we need to be able to pay our people enough so that they don't leave us for something else, so that we can get good people. Maintenance is the same way. Upstairs is the same way. We need to take care of our people. And it's going to take about 5% a year for the first 3 years at least to get that 5% of the payroll expense, yearly expense, about $62,000 a year bump on the payroll line to get to where we're taking care of our people so they don't want to leave. And a piece of that is also, we have decent benefits, but those keep changing in the market, and we need to look at our benefits and make sure we're taking care of our people. Okay? Other budget items in the second year are equipment reserve. Our equipment reserve, right now it's set up, we reserve on a monthly basis for a total annually of about $120,000, $125,000, I think it is. If that is great, unless you have to buy a dump truck, which we've got one terming out. You put them on you annualize it and you figure out how many years it's going to last. We got one that's going to not be serviceable here in a few years, and it's $120,000 to buy a new one, which we probably won't do. But it's $120,000 to buy a new one with all the equipment on it we need so that it, can spread. We don't use a lot of salt, but the cinders and the blade on the front and all of that. If we're lucky, we'll find one for $85,000. But that kills the budget for a year. We need to fund that budget considerably more than we're funding it right now. A couple other big expenses coming up in a few years. We're going to start having a dock or two need replaced. Those long docks connected to the beautiful dam up front run, depending on who you talk to, somewhere between $55,000 and $80,000 for the whole dock. Superstructure, the whole underneath, the whole ball of wax, the concrete, and everything else. So anytime we have one of those big expenses, we do not have enough equipment budget, because then we can't turn around and even buy a mower in the same year. By the way, a fairway mower for the golf course is, what was the last one we bought? $55,000. So a lot of expense there. Speaking of the golf course, another budget item. Our poor golf course, which is in great shape right now, does not have the budget to do a couple things annually that every other golf course in the United States probably does. One is he does not have enough budget to buy the chemicals needed to fight dollar spot, which is an invasive disease that kills the grass, He does not have the budget needed to fight any of the invasive grasses. He's got enough budget for the greens, and that's it. So starting here in a couple weeks, August and September, even with all the rain we've had, which makes it nice that at least they didn't have to, water it continuously, they'll start losing fairways to grass diseases because they don't have the chemicals to fight it. The other thing they don't have the money to do is aerate. Any of you that are golfers, you play a golf course, and anytime after Labor Day you got a chance of showing up and having all the aeration plugs laying all over the place. Or it looks like the goose have been out there, but that's not what it is. They aerate every year. Our guys, I think they aerated the greens a couple years ago. They don't have the budget to do it. We need to up their budget so that we can take care of that investment in our golf course. Third year, one-time projects. The ORV track, shooting range, airstrip, and boneyard are behind a gate at both ends, and that's about the end of security over there. There's a gate. We want to look at putting a fence around it to protect the investment that we've got in the shooting range and the ORV track. The committees have done a great job of making that shooting range a destination. Anybody you talk to that's been over there in the last few years thoroughly enjoys it. It's a beautiful place, set up great. ORV track, there's a lot of people that go over there and use it. The ORV track, one of the biggest reasons we want to secure it behind a fence is the liability. If people come in that aren't Hideaway Hills members from the backside across Kessler Swamp or however they're going to get in there and then get hurt on the track, even though they were there without our permission, we're in trouble, or could be. That's one of the reasons. And the other part of that one is the boneyard is a pretty large storage area that we ask people to put their boat trailers and stuff over there because we don't have room, we don't want them down front. And there's a gate. You got to get the key at the security to get through that gate. But if you're a local and you got a dirt bike or an ATV, you can come and go around that gate anytime you want. Get in from the backside, security will never know you were there. We want to secure that. The pool, once every 3 to 5 years, needs a liner. I think it's going to need one here in 2 years, in the third year. That's about $22,000. It's a one-time project. Budget items, again, the ditches and culverts, that's going to be an ongoing theme. So is the wage increase. Third year additional budget items, both of those are still the same. Once we fund the golf course, that's not something you can fund once and then walk away from. Fourth year one-time projects, the sprinkler system on the golf course, one hole has a dual line system. The other 8 have a single line system, which if you walk out there sometime when the sprinklers are running, you can tell it does a circle, and then the other circle just barely touches it, which means you got these ever widening areas here where you're getting no water. It's not a good system. It was certainly better than nothing when they put it in 20 years ago or whatever. It needs upgraded. That's why that's on there. And then your budget items again are the ditches and the wage increase. And golf course and equipment. Fifth year, that sprinkler system's a 2-year deal, and then the budget items are the same as before. If you notice, there's kind of a theme here. We want to take care of our people, our associates, but we also want to take care of all the amenities. In fact, in some cases, even upgrade them a little bit, because that takes care of our members from two. It takes care of them in 2 ways. It takes care of the amenity that they love, play, use, watch, look at, whatever, but it also considerably helps your real estate values. If we don't take care of these, then it's not going to be a selling point when you want to put your house on the market, people are going to come in here and they're going to see a golf course, you know, but not well taken care of. They're going to see docks that are kind of falling apart or whatever. They're going to, you know, we need to take care of our investment, because last time I checked, isn't your home your second biggest investment or first biggest? First. So that, I believe, oh, well, those are the same. That's pretty much, oh, is that, hang on, let me see if we can see that. Nope, I got out of that somehow. Sorry about that. I wanted to share a couple facts with you. Hopefully all of you had a chance to take part in the survey that we just did. Some of the stuff we got out of that survey was the most liked, loved amenity in the place of all of them, and it almost listed all of them, is Lake of Four Seasons. We are a lake community. Second, somewhat surprisingly, was the lodge. Next was a tie between golf course and pool. And then all the rest of them, all the way down to the airstrip. And that was kind of surprising. It's a pleasant surprise that the lodge ranked that highly. Another fact that came out of that survey, another thing that a couple of these gentlemen over here had done some research over years, as well as they could, to find out how many people are full-time here versus part-time. And if you go back 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was about 40% full-time, 60% part-time. They had just looked at those numbers again a few months ago, and they thought it was about 50-50. That survey confirmed that. It's almost exactly 50-50 now, and trending upward. New home sales in here for the last 5 years have averaged over 50 a year, which means that there's a constant turnover in new people versus non-new people. There's Randy, our general manager, reported to the board Tuesday night that we're on record pace again. So that's the numbers behind the assessment increase. I'm going to ask Mr. Krieger to come up and say a few words, and then we're going to open it up to questions, okay? And we've got handouts back there. Let me go through it real quick just so you know what's there quickly. This one is the frequently asked questions list, both sides of the paper that were put together by the group. Then there's basically the slides that you just saw on a couple pieces of paper, and then the last one is a screen capture of the spreadsheet that all those points came from. That's what they are. And now, Mr. Krieger.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Good to see you all here today. Again, this is our opportunity, or we would like you all to take the opportunity to figure out what we're talking about and understand how much work has gone into it. My name is Jim Krieger. We moved here, my wife and I did 10 years ago. Started out like a lot of people did in a small cabin. We were there for 4 years, and we bought a year-round house that we could live in. We still are somewhat part-timers, but mostly here. We plan on spending, the rest of our time here at Hideaway before we're finished. Similar to Jim, I volunteered on a project for the management committee about 6 months after we moved here, and a couple months later I was asked to be on the management committee, and a couple months after that they asked me to be the chair of the management committee. And so I did that for 7 years, as Jim likes to say, including breaking the dam, and more importantly, rebuilding the dam, because it's a really great dam now.
Yes,
and I think it'll last for all of our lives, that's for sure. That was the hope. Anyway, a couple thoughts. I'm on the board now, have been the last 2 years, the president of the board. We talked about this project a year ago about doing an assessment increase, and we felt the need for it because of just what Jim showed you. I did the budget like he did for several years while I was on management, and the money, it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And we are being met with new people and everything else with a lot of expectations People want this to be, in my feeling, this is my opinion, people want this to be a comfortable place to be. They want it to be a safe place to be. Security is one thing that is on everybody's minds. It certainly showed up in the survey that security was. We do have 2 people on 24/7. Very few other lakes communities make that commitment. And it's not a cheap commitment. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we have it. We've had some problems recently. I would argue we're not happy with them, but these are problems that we've had before and we'll continue to deal with them. We work well with the sheriff and everybody else to do it. But really what has happened, I think, in a lot of ways, and we spoke to how many people have turned over, are the expectations of people. Constantly people say, well, how come we aren't doing this? Why aren't we doing that? How come this isn't? And that's a great thing because it means that people care and that they're thinking about what's important in their community. That it also speaks then that we have opportunities. Things don't get better if you don't address them and pay for them. And there's 2 pieces to that. The addressing is what we've talked about here, which I just showed you. The management committees look very, very closely at it. And they've come up with this scenario of $60 strapped in over a 3-year period. Of course, it coincides, as all of you know, with, if you're still paying your dam assessment, the last payment will start after the dam assessment is finished. And that was one of the things that we did. That is a strategy. That wasn't a surprise. It's not just something that occurred. So we're looking at that and hoping that will soften it for people. But nevertheless, having the monies that we're putting into those reserves, those were the budgets that I established when I was working on those 9 years ago. Was 120 for the equipment reserve and another $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year for capital. That's all we have. And it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. We try to address it. We haven't really increased staff. Maybe 1 part-time person on the golf course, that's been it. So we're living, we're trying to do as much and more, given these expectations, as we did with the resources that we previously had. So that's where we're at. We asked for $15 a year last year. I'd have to say, I'm glad it didn't pass, because then we'd have to be coming back again. Because I think this is a much more realistic appraisal of what we need to make this place work. And again, we're at 168 now. In 3 years, you'll be at 228. That's $720 a year. I understand that. But nevertheless, I guess the group that we put together to look at this, both the management committee, they get the lion's share because they did go piece by piece and part by part to give you, I think, is a realistic appraisal of what we're going to do. If we don't vote it in, then we have there's no alternative. You don't have the money. You start changing things. Do we go to 1 security guard? Do we quit buying trucks? Do we let the ditches go? I mean, those are the alternatives. So with that, I'm done, or at least we'll turn it open to open questions.
Couple things. Let me cover real quick exactly how, when this passes, how it will step in. The first $20 would step in January 1st of next year, 2020. The second 20, those that are paying the dam assessment on a monthly basis will make their last dam assessment payment May of 2021. The second step of this doesn't kick in until the next month. So you'll have your 72, whatever it is, drop off before the second 20 kicks in June of 2021. The third one kicks in January 1st of 2022. We stepped it in so that we try to make it easier. It is sort of like a school levy. All of us are familiar with those. We've faced them wherever we've lived. If it doesn't pass, to his point, there's only so much belt tightening we can do, so many trucks we don't buy, then we start almost giving up stuff. The schools always, they'll never threaten you with taking away football because that's too popular. So we're not going to take away the big lake. Don't know what we're going to take away, but it's going to be music and art, which is what they always threaten us with in school lakes. Something along that line. I think that's it. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. I can appreciate the need for increased assessments here, and I appreciate all the work you've done. I'm a bit concerned that we're showing a $60 increase over 30 years, when for the past 15 years we have a $60 increase over 15 years. It just seems like a big jump to me.
Well, the numbers I saw over the last 15 years, it's gone up an average of $2.40 round figure a year is what I saw. And that was set up when they started basing it on the CPIW.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong, it's gone up $40 in the
Yeah,
past.
from 128 to 168, yeah.
And now
$2.
we're talking 60 over 3 years.
That is correct.
Right.
It's a lot.
It is.
Well, it is. Unfortunately, that $2.49 or whatever a year for the last 15, it's not getting it done. Every year they've
I
had
understand that.
to tighten it and tighten it. This was, when I presented this to the management committee, there was a whole lot of $60. Wow, you know, and then two of us did all these numbers. And it came down to the five of us agreed that this is what it's going to take to fix everything, keep it going. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out. We have the equipment reserve fund, we have the CapEx, we have a lake fund, we have quite a few funds that we have to fund every month. We are legal. There's state laws on what we have to fund and how much has to be funded. We are definitely legal, but we are not funding them to where we need to be for the future. And that's another piece of this, is to try to get the funds so that when a $75,000 expenditure for fixing something on one of the lakes comes up, we've got the money there to do it. We don't have to come to everybody and do a special assessment or do another increase. I totally understand.
And then I just want to follow up. You note that after these increases, the CPI increase will resume in January 2023. Are you anticipating that will be enough at that point in time? You will have gotten caught up and with enough things that the CPI increase will be adequate from there on for a while at least? Or can we anticipate 5 years from now, you know?
I would anticipate that we will be caught up. We'll have our funds funded. The CPIW, it hasn't been enough for the last 15, so I hate to stand here and say, oh yeah, that's going to be enough. I don't have a crystal ball on that. I'm hoping we're far enough ahead that it's a long time before we have to come back to you and ask for more money.
That's just what I was wondering, what your long-term thinking was.
I'm thinking that this will handle at least somewhere between 5 and 7 or 8 years before we even have to look at it.
I think that's fair too. I mean, we were doing reasonably well with the CPI until we had those couple of years where we didn't get an increase at all.
Yeah, right.
And so I think that's it. And again, the other piece is, to speak to it again, is people want more now. They love the motorcade. You know, we took the road all the way to the back. So they're like, why aren't we doing that? Why is the beach cove now like that? Where's that? So those things are going to continue. Security is a big issue. That's an expensive item. Jim talked about the access gates and getting in and out. We've talked about that a lot. I think it's an important issue. And I mean, when I said I did a project when I first got here, that was the first project I did, was an RFID system for here. We're pretty good. We got the cameras there, so we can see a lot. That's probably our primary. But to make a more difficult barrier for people would be appropriate. There's a couple of the lakes communities we go to, they literally have a chalk gate with one on each side. They have only 2 entries, and if it breaks down, you're out of luck because they don't have anybody working. There's no security overnight. It's, park your car and walk to your house. So we don't want to do that because we have too many people, and a lot of, like Jim said, there's many people who live here. And again, we've got almost half of the people who've moved in here in the last 7 to 8 years. That's the turnover we have, and so I think there are different expectations. So that's my personal feeling.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
So I bought a house here in October, so I'm one of the new people. And
Welcome to Idaho.
One of the things that I haven't clearly seen in the budget, and maybe it's just I've missed it, but when you first move in, you pay quite a hefty, like we pay almost like $4,500 just to be members.
And you want to know where that goes?
Yes,
I'll explain.
one question. Like I would like to know where that goes because you said 50 people come in a year. That's $200,000, and that would mean
Okay.
the funds low.
50% of that goes to an amenities fund. That's all the different committees, and what is there, 24 committees. which are all made up of all volunteers. This place is driven by volunteers, and it's absolutely amazing. I got to go to a Lake Committee Association, Ohio Lake Committee Association meeting, and I was sitting with Randy. Hopefully all of you met our GM, Randy. Everybody that walked up to Randy wanted to know, how in the hell do you get so many people to volunteer? How do you get so much stuff done? So we just got a great environment. 50% of it goes to a fund that those 24 committees go to once a year to do upgrades like like they're doing over here on the pool right now, like the pergola and the stuff out on the other side of the pool that was done a couple of years ago, like the health and wellness center that they're working on over across from the front gate. That's where 50% of it goes. 10% goes to the road fund, 40% goes to the general fund. So that fluctuates. The last 5 years, it's been a nice little addition to the general fund.
And I feel like, and maybe it's in there, but I don't feel like it's clearly put in the budget. And I think that's probably something, like when you're talking about these things, you should show where that money is and where it's going. I mean, I've worked with budgets a lot in my line of work. And that's something I feel like that needs to be shared too, because as being a new member that takes on that cost and then takes on this cost and then finds out I have more costs, and I'm also new, so one of the things that I don't get is access to the docs, because people who've been here have access to them first. And so I hear the things that you're saying about the things that we want, but I also see what we don't get as new members that just have to bide our time and wait until someone gives up something. And so I'm just on the fence about things, because I'm like, well, yeah, some of these things are great, but I live in Columbus, I'm not here all the time. So like security, I can take care of security myself by putting up a Nest camera. Right. So I need a little bit more, like, how is this going to be a good use of extra money that I'm taking from my family and myself and putting into this?
Sure. Those are good questions. Those are the right questions. And the budget is extremely simple in a lot of ways. I did budgets for all my career. It's about $1.6 million we get in assessments. Like Jim said here, we get about another $80,000 from the new member fee. We get some income from the lodge and the clubhouse, and that's literally it. Oh, and the road assessment is another $160K. That's all earmarked completely just for roads. So those are the dollars. So this increase will be another $500,000 by the time it's fully in place. So that'll be another third. As Jim said, costs are going up. The additional things that we're adding, the things that people want. They want the golf course. The golf course is much better now than it was when I came 10 years ago. And that's something that people want. This building here is an old building. We nearly burned down this thing 3 years ago. The kitchen caught on fire. Fortunately, they pulled the fire suppression system, otherwise it would have been go on. We've been starting over from scratch that time. So that was also while we're in the middle of not having the dam. We almost burned the lodge down. So it was a fun night. Ginger called me up actually and said, because I was at home, we were going up to dinner later, because you better get up to the lodge. The fire trucks are all here. So those are the issues we have. I mean, we can split up the budget over well over $1 million is just plain personnel. And then another 150 or so, we have pie charts we can share with you. That's not a problem. 150 is, insurance and realty tax and all those sorts of pieces. And then we're done. Then we're really left with these couple reserves that we use for operating funds, and that's what we're trying to augment. We're trying to go from that 120 a year to 300 and some. That's where it's at.
On the back page of the Echo, they put a way brief recap every month. If you want to stop in the office, the full PRL, including budget line, how it matches with budgets, is available to anybody that's a member. They'll certainly share it, including Randy's probably got a copy of the budget that we presented to the board, and that new member assessment is a line on there. It's fortunate that the last 5 years or so it's just been going like this. There's always that opportunity, and hope, God forbid it happens, because all of us have a lot of money tied up in our real estate here, but that bubble could pop like it did in 07, 08 or something like that. So I don't want to bank on that one being there forever in a budget. You're very familiar with budgets, so you know what I mean. But if you want to stop in, all that stuff is I would say it's public, but it's public only to members.
Yeah.
So.
Any member has a right to review any of that information. And,
Right.
And feel free to give us a call.
And they'll print you out a copy. They don't hide it. Yes, ma'am.
And if you do any research whatsoever, you'll find out that we have more amenities here than any other facility that is equal to this one in the state of Ohio for the least amount of assessment.
Great.
Everything else starts at $218 right now, today, and goes up. Average throughout the state of Ohio is between $250 and $300 if you do any research at all. So what we have is phenomenal for what we pay. We should pay more so that we can have what we have more comfortably, so that we can keep employees that leave simply because they're not getting paid enough. They love it, they love their job, they love the people. I say, what happened? Where'd you go? Well, I got a job that I get paid $1 more an hour.
Easily.
$1 more an hour, and we lose a good employee. We need this increase really badly.
Another thing too, with a lot of the lakes communities, we don't have user fees here. If you want to go to many of the lakes and you want to, if they've got club docks or whatever,
Exactly.
you pay for that dock.
Mhm.
And if you have a health and wellness center, there's a membership or the
You pay
fee
an
for
annual fee to
you're
use the
paying.
pool.
Absolutely.
Whether you used it or not.
That is correct. And so that's one thing in our rules. If you look at them, what we call the code has sort of a mythic aspect to it. The code says no user fees. That's why you don't pay greens fees. That's why you don't pay, if you're going to use the great room down here, it costs you $25, and if you clean it up, you get it back. I mean, that's the way we roll, and we don't want to change that. We would prefer just to be able to do these things and do them we're not planning on splurging. These are planned. We have depreciation schedules of equipment. You can find them on the website. Those things are all there. We've gone out 10, 15 years with numbers and what we think are right. We've got good people. We've had wonderful people on the management committee over the years who really take this seriously and deal with it. Another point is the management committee voted unanimously to support this. Little ones running. I was talking about the quality of the construction here. The management committee voted unanimously, as did the board, to recommend this to you all.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment and follow up on her and how she feels. We actually bought Jim Krieger's hand-me-down cabin, which we loved it as much as they did,
Yes,
until it decided with 3 grandkids, 2 dogs, and 6 adults. As you found out, it wasn't enough when it was
It
raining.
was not. No.
We moved here in July of 2014, so we paid our assessment fee. And you know what happened in the month of August? They had an annual meeting here, which I didn't know anything about. But all of a sudden, I owed another $45, whatever the amount was, for the dam.
$4,000.
And my wife and I looked at each other, and it was like, we kind of own 2 houses, we're stretching, that's 2 water heaters, that's 2 new sets of windows, that's 2 refrigerators. It's just all this stuff doubles. And I said, they want how much more? And we sit here and talked about it. And we're still here, we live here full time now, is because it's where we wanted to be, because of the amenities. But believe me, after closing out a house and a down payment and this assessment fee so you can get in the game.
Right.
And then this dam assessment, but we stayed because it's where we
That's
wanted.
DAM, by the way.
Well, it depends who you talk about. But I wanted to put that point out because I really feel where you're at. I feel the same with everybody on fixed income and things like this, because I'm hopefully, God willing, the stock market doesn't crash, that here in a few short years, I hope that I'm going to enter that retirement side of it too, and every dollar is going to count. Think back to $4.50 an hour when we got married in 1980, and how much macaroni and cheese our kids had to choke down just so we could feed them.
Well, and back to Jim's.
You're not alone and not waiting for a dock. We waited for a dock. Everybody waits for a dock. It's a big boom and wanting to be on the lake.
How long does that take? Because we're new too, so we were wondering too. How long does that take before we can have access to a boat?
It's just whenever people decide they're done voting.
Usually it's within the first year.
Yeah,
A lot of people decide they don't want to vote.
We have a man right here who can speak to it. When did you guys put your bid in?
I called the middle of January, and I think they're just trying to not put false hope on us. They said probably not this year, maybe not next year. And I got called last Tuesday, and we have a spot that's empty right now.
These guys are bad now. just about advertising cost shield, so.
It kind of goes in spurts.
Yeah.
It really will. It
That's
doesn't
what we
come
said,
in
well, do
200s.
we buy a vote, what are we gonna do with the vote, you know, we buy,
Yeah.
because we live on the big hill.
I wanted to relate a little bit of a personal story about some of our security people, some of our people totally. This really doesn't have a great ending, but it goes to how dedicated our people are. The other day, security got a call. I'm going to leave names and lot numbers out of this. A gentleman had a massive heart attack in his front yard. And Randall showed up. Rick heard it. Randall's head of security. Rick is head of maintenance. They carry radios. Rick heard on the radio there was a problem. He was in the area. He showed up. Between the two of them, they used the AED on the guy twice and did CPR on him for 20 minutes until Marion Township got here. And were very upset that they weren't sure the guy was going to live. I mean, those guys, they love working here. They love the job they do, and they bend over backwards, as do quite a few of the guards. I'm sure we might be able to come up with one or two that you would question how much they love being here. You don't have nicknames. We'll stay away from that. But for the most part, those guys, I mean, they're not leaving, but we need to take care of them so that they don't get that thought to leave. We really have good people.
Sure.
Any other questions? Make sure, if you want to take some of the paperwork so that you can read through it, have at it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being informed.
If you're not gonna be at the meeting, get an absentee ballot so
Yes.
that your voice is heard.
I got something to say, and if
Sure,
you're not a
please.
volunteer on any committee, find one that you like doing and volunteer for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Concerts every weekend this year too.
All you do is shut them, and the other guy says, no, you can't. One that was just. Until about 45, 45 minutes. Why don't you make